This all started with an outbreak, the moment when the dead started to come back to life. Everyone remembers it, and everybody lost somebody. But you see, it's been a few months since Havenwood became more than just a roof over our heads. We patched the walls, cleared the pews, and turned the old church into something that almost feels like home. We even recruited Big Mike, right from the hardware store. That man's built like a bulldozer and about as subtle as one. But he's helped us turn this place into a real fortress. And that's where our story continues. Well, hello everybody. My name is Turk, and welcome back to the Grouch Couch. Welcome to Ghoul Couch. Ghoul Couch. This month here of October, we celebrate a thing called Ghoul Couch, and in honor of that, we are continuing our Walking Dead solo series, using, of course, Mythic GME is a little bit of a supplement to help us out in the series. This right here is one of the most popular series right here on the channel, and so I figured, what a better time to bring it back than right here in Ghoul Couch. Now, if you're new around here, and this is your first time seeing this here series, don't worry too much about the previous episodes. This is kind of going to be like a fresh start. We're going to go over everything that's happened before, and you could jump right in here and just ride along for the whole series. But if you do decide to go back, you can find out how we got here and everything that we've been through, the blood, the bad luck, and the few good people that somehow made it through. But it has been a good 6 or 7 months since I did the last episode on The Walking Dead here, so today is about taking stock. It's about Havenwood and how it's still standing, and I want to just see how strong that it's got, right? What's working, what's breaking, what's been lost, and after that, we're going to talk a little bit about the mall that's nearby, and maybe we'll finally have a reason to leave the church again and go out and adventure. But before that, I think it is time for a little bit of a recap to remember where we are and what's going on in our story. But before I get into that, YouTube jibber jabber you guys, I want to remind all of you to use links down in the description. If you want to pick up The Walking Dead or Mythic or anything else for yourself, please make sure to use our drivethru RPG links or our Amazon affiliate links to help support the show. You pick up stuff, and then it helps us pick up stuff. It's a win-win for everybody. There's also some other fun links down there that you guys can check out, like links to our artists and other kinds of fun stuff on our website. You know how it is. And I really like all of my solo series to kind of be collaborative storytelling a little bit, best that I can. I say this in all my videos, but if you have an idea for a character or for something, and I do ask a lot of questions while I play as well too, so if you have some ideas and you want to throw them in there, please make sure to leave them down in the comments, and then I'll go over them at the beginning of the next episode. That's right. Which we do actually have some homework to do for that from episode 8 of the last series, which we will do after the recap. Yes. So my friends, how did we get here? Jay Ryder was just a truck driver, trying to keep his little brother Aiden safe when the world went to hell. And Jay made it back to his hometown, now completely crawling with the undead, and he managed to scrap together a small group of survivors. We have Cece. She is the brain with a radio tower dream to be able to communicate and set up trade routes everywhere. We also have Torka, the drifter, with a spear and a really good heart. And then of course Jay's little brother Aiden, who is the kid, who still believes that there's something out there worth saving because it's his generation that is going to grow up in this new undead world. And Jay himself is a recovering criminal, kind of. In his past life, he was very much so not the good guy, but before the world went to shit, he actually spent some time bettering himself and got a job and was sending home money to his mom and his brother to try and make things better for everything. And then the world's gone to shit, so all of his past is now following him. It didn't give enough time to, become a better person. So he's still developing now that the world has, in quote unquote. And lastly, we have, and I did come up with a name, and we're going to check the comments in a minute for all you guys who threw out name suggestions for the hardware store guy. But one of the top comments actually combined two of them. His name is Big Mike Ross. And we'll get into Big Mike Ross's character sheet, but he was a soldier. And he spent the majority of his life serving the country as a soldier. And when he came home to pretty much nothing. So he got a job at a hardware store and started fixing things and building things with his hands to keep himself busy. And then the world kind of went to crap. And as the manager of the hardware store, he just kind of stayed there and kind of built up a little bit of a bunker. And Big Mike's past also haunts him a little bit, but only because he lost a lot of his fellow members and soldiers of his unit back in when he was serving. So he kind of has a hard time attaching to new people, but he, I think at this point, sees the group as his new unit, you know, the new people he's serving with. Like, he's prepared to protect them, and that's kind of his flaw, right? He's self-sacrificing in that way. And we'll take a look at his character sheet in a little bit. But together, they've claimed an old, burned-down church. I don't say burned down, but like burnt-out church. And with the help of comments, of course, they decided to call it Havenwood. They fought off walkers, they've scrounged supplies, and made some uneasy peace with their neighbors, which we'll cover in a bit. But new dangers keep circling, from this mysterious Yaw faction to the lure of an untouched mall on the edge of the city. And here we are. Our story is going to return. Some of you are going to love this, some of you are going to hate this, but our story is going to return months later. Havenwood is still standing, and Big Mike has moved in with us here at Haven. And in today's episode, we are actually going to try and roll some dice to see how well things have developed and see where things are. And as you have seen, I created a nice little map for us so we know what is what and where everything is. Really kind of fun, so you guys can see that side as well. We've got our parking lot over here. I imagine Torka's van is over there. Torka has a hippie van, and also Jay has a really nice muscle car that he's got parked over there as well. We have our main hall, where all of last season we spent the majority just kind of living in the main hall because we didn't have time to clean up anything else. But we have our youth room, storage room, our library, and then on the second floor we have the bell tower, the office, the radio workshop, and the storage room. And outside, of course, we have our grave site where Melissa and Gregory Owens were buried. They were in the church whenever we found the church, and it was a very tragic moment. I'm not going to spoil that for you guys, but anyways, we also have the farm area. And if you remember in episode 8, Jay told Aiden, hey, get all them blackberry bushes and replant them over here so we don't have to go out and search. We can just have them right access, we can just have them. So we're going to roll to see how well the farm area is developing. And also, we did find a bunch of seeds in the hardware store. And I'm not going to play like it's been 7 months, and I'm not going to play like I wasn't listening to the past episodes on and off a little bit the past couple of weeks while I was at work, just to try and prep my brain and remember everything that's going on. So, because I don't want to miss anything. There was a lot of threads, and the story is really fun. There's a lot going on. So I want to make sure that we can nail in on everything. Right. So in today's episode, we're going to be determining Havenwood's upgrades. We're going to be checking in on the characters, rolling some dice for them, and we're going to be talking about our next moves. All right. Maybe even rolling on some events. So there's not going to be a lot of role playing or even combat or anything else like that in today's episode. We're just going to be moving things forward and seeing where we're at now that it's been a few months, right? And the main reason I did the few months jump is because I really want to go to the mall, and I really want to mess with the Yaw faction. Those are two really big threads that we have. And Jesse's mom and dad are also out there somewhere. And if we keep taking it day by day, it's going to take us a while to get there. So I figured we could just make some real big general rolls to see how things are going, and we could write it all down, and then we could move forward. Yes. So I think now's a good time. One of the things that I also did, I could pull up all of our character sheets now too, and if this is the first time that you're seeing them, hey, congratulations. Welcome to the show. First of all, Jesse, I have leveled up each one of these guys. So I used all of their experience and leveled them up. One of the things I wanted to say is that I think by now, at this time, Jesse's probably fixed his axe and probably upgraded it a little bit. If we remember, he actually broke his axe when he was trying to kill a walker. They were trying to get a freezer, and he actually broke his axe in that time. So he was using a hammer in one of the last episodes. But I think at this time, he's probably fixed it and upgraded it, probably add some weights to it. If you guys have some fun descriptions of maybe what he could have done to his axe, leave them down in comments below. But I think for now, it is fixed. I did upgrade his close combat by 1, so now it's at 3. And also, he didn't get any talents actually, because he didn't have enough for any talents, because previously he got Skullcracker, so he actually gets a +2 to close combat when he fights Walker. And that's pretty much it. He still has all of his basic stuff, but we're going to make some dice rolls to see if they got any new kinds of equipment while searching around. And I'm going to go in order as we actually picked up everyone. So next is Torka, and Torka actually got, I figured it was smart to give him an upgrade to Stealth, because he had the option to get a talent called Gatherer, which we did get, so he gets a +2 to Stealth whenever he's by himself. So at any point, if we want to send him out to do some scavenging stuff or anything else like that, Torga now has 5 in Stealth, and that's really, really fun. He didn't get any new weapons yet, but again, we will make that dice roll on that, but that's pretty much his level up. Next is Cece, and Cece got an upgrade to Tech because she also got Techno Babbler, so she can now use a tech roll instead of manipulation whenever they discuss any kind of complex matters with anybody. And I think this is kind of fun because if we remember, Cece is building a radio to talk to people, right? So if she wants to manipulate or convince anybody to do anything, she can now use her tech skill instead of manipulation, and that's super fun. And she's kind of like our at-home communicator, I kind of think she should be, so that she can tell us what's going on at home, or like guide us places or anything else like that. She might be the one that like has the map and could be like, hey, we're lost, we're over here, Cece, help us out. And she could be like, oh, you should go this way and that way. It's kind of a fun thing to have. So cool. Lastly is Aiden, looking a little bit older nowadays, but he does have a crossbow now instead of just the bow. I finally did update that, but he did get marksman. That was really cool. He gets a +2 to ranged combat on the first shot in every fight. Very, very cool. And we did upgrade ranged combat by 1. All right, so a brand new character sheet is we have Big Mike Ross, which we're going to go over comments in a minute to see how we came up with the name. But he's the archetype of soldier, former military sergeant who worked at a hardware store after the service. He's older, disciplined, and calm, but like a tank. Dark-skinned and salt and pepper hair and bright blue eyes. Keeps his store fortified and dreams of rebuilding civilization. I don't know why I put that in there. Let's just do dreams of building civilization, because he does. That's kind of his dream. He wants someone who wants to rebuild, not just survive. I figured he'd be attached to Jay because Jay probably reminds him of someone that he served with, and then his NPC anchor is his fallen units, all the men that he lost in combat, and even if they're figurative, I think it'll work as a NPC anchor. He's also haunted by losing his unit in the war, and he cannot stand chaos or idleness. So I think is him, he's always going to be trying to fix something, always doing something, always, working on something like that. It also made sense for me to give him a pistol or a revolver, being that his background is the soldier, and he's very, very big, so I think sledgehammer is also good too, so he can use that bad boy to break down some stuff. Now his talents are that he has 3 talents I decided to give him. Eye on the ball, so he can relieve his stress every time he defeats an enemy or something is overcome. He also has suppressive fire, so he can attack multiple enemies when using ranged combat, but they all take 1 less point of damage. And he has pack mule, so he can carry some extra stuff. That makes sense to me. Now we're gonna actually check out Havenwood. I finished putting this together. We have 6 rooms. So we're surrounded by the parking lot. We have the farm as our resources. All of our survivors are actually in here now. Currently, we can still hold 10 survivors at the place, but I think 5 comfortably makes sense. Oh, also, one of the big things that is going to come into play is that Mike was working at the hardware store. And if you know a lot about hardware stores, especially in smaller kind of rural towns, they usually also run like the U-Haul rental. And you know for a fact that we had to use Big Mike, and he for sure had the keys to a U-Haul. And we used that U-Haul to deliver things back and forth from the hardware store to Havenwood. And so if we look here in the Havenwood character sheet, now we also have Mike's U-Haul truck, which is probably going to take a lot of gas to be able to get it back and forth, and it only sits 2 people comfortably unless we want to throw them in the back. But having a U-Haul truck is a really good resource to be able to pick things up and go back and forth and stuff like that. And I think that's how we got a lot of the things that we're going to be doing and adding into Havenwood as our upgrade. And I haven't changed our projects yet. We probably should, but we'll update that a little bit more as well. Okay, so I think that's a lot of the homework. And I know that I'm skimming over a lot of the mechanics and how this system works and everything else like that. If you are really interested in how this game works and how I'm using Mythic with it, I'll try to discuss as much as I can while I play, but also I do discuss a lot of it in the first couple of episodes. So if you're here just to figure out how you could play this by yourself, do make sure to check out those first episodes, because I always like to try to help explain. And I feel like in the solo community that's important, because if you're here checking out solo, it's probably because you're interested in playing yourself. And so I always try to help explain as I play anything here on the channel. But it's hard for me because we've already done so many episodes of it. I'm like, but I want this to be like a jump off point where you could just hop in and play from here. So hopefully I'm doing an okay job, hopefully. So actually, before we do that, I always like to look at the comments from the previous episodes. And so this is from episode 8 of series 1, which I guess is what we're going to call it. This is going to be series 2, even though it's probably going to be a little bit shorter. Another great one. Can't wait for autumn. Yeah, well, we're in October now. Sergeant Lincoln Francis, which was a really good suggestion. And I think it's one of the first ones that popped into my head. But at the time, there was another one that got some more likes. Got to be patient till fall. Here we are. GM Chris. Stephen Gilbert as well. I think I had a whole conversation with them in the comment section. It's very nice. Here we go. T34 Panda. This has 2 likes. When the military hardware store guy turned out to be really kind, I instantly thought of Bob Ross. Perhaps a name of Bobby, Robert, Rob would be fun. So we're taking Ross from that because very good. And then the next one was named for the guy Michael Big Mike Watkins, which I thought was really good. But we're going to do Big Mike Ross is what his name is. So shout out to Polar King and T34 Panda. Both your names remind me of bears, but very good. We also got Captain Silver Rex, who said Gerald Hitch, which I think is pretty good, but you know how it is. Can't wait for this to continue. Where did the soundtrack come from? The music you're listening to right now is from the Last of Us soundtrack. Hey, let me give you guys some other creator advice. Video game soundtracks tend to be okay on YouTube, usually, especially on Twitch as well, is when I learned that, because you'd be playing a video game and there's music in the background and there's no copyright strikes, and you go, huh, what? In the video game. So then when I started making YouTube videos, I went, oh, hey, what if I use that same method, but I'm actually playing board games, but what if I still use video game music? And so that's kind of what I do. That's where I get a lot of my backgrounds, my art assets, and my music, mostly all from video games, at least for now. You know, hey, if the Grouch Couch ever gets large enough, I would love to start commissioning people to make some cool custom shit, and, you know, I would just love that a lot. But for now, the music you're listening to now is the Last of Us soundtrack, because it fits perfect. And I don't know, the Walking Dead soundtrack didn't really fit my vibe. I like the Last of Us a little bit more rustic feel to it. All about that. Okay, we also got an NPC suggestion, which if one does pop up this episode, I will ensure to have Dave come in, all right? An alternative Dave. I'm hoping you made some more. We're doing it right now, Tabletop Junkie Games. Very good. Okay, so in episode 8, I did a lot of suggesting. Jay was talking to everyone in the crew, like, hey, do this, do that, do this, and do that, and before I leave to go find Big Mike. And I want to see how well those things went. The idea is to be able to set up Havenwood and give ourselves a visual, because if we go to war with the Yaw faction, we need to know what assets we have, what we could potentially lose, and what might give us an advantage, right? Especially if we're going to go to the mall and we're going to try to get some stuff, you know, bring back like some solar panels or anything else like that. We need to know what we need so we can focus in on it, especially if we're about to go to war. In my mind, Letitia Thornton, if you remember, wait, let's go to my notes. Letitia Thornton was living alone in the stained glass religious factory near Havenwood. Right. And when we last can't talk today, Aiden seen the Yaw faction running through the forest in the rain, sneaking up on Letitia Thornton. And something happened. They either kidnapped her or the Yaw faction has moved into the glass warehouse and scared her out, which means they're basically our neighbors now, one way or the other. And so we're going to have to deal with them. We have to figure out what's going on with Letitia Thornton and where she moved to. We also have Angela Bailey, who's just on the radio. Jamie Thornton could possibly be Letitia Thornton's dad. Gregory and Melissa Owens. Did I get that right? The gravestones? I'm good. And lastly, there's a house also. So there's the big glass warehouse, stained glass warehouse where Letitia Thornton was. And then there's another just house, a big old gated in house that has a bunch of walkers chained to a pole outside. And someone's living in there. And maybe we got to check that out as well. That's the thing. Right. So what we got to do now is we got to decide exactly on everything we want to roll on. And then we're going to have people make those rolls. And we're actually going to be using some of their skills to do so, which is the fun part. So for example, one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to fix up the walls and the front doors of the main hall of the church. So walls and defenses. And I was thinking that we could roll survival or something like that. I want to pull this up. There really isn't like a building skill check to make. Like in other games, you know, maybe like a sleight of hand or something like that or whatever, but we could do a survival. Our boy Big Mike has wits and survival, so he could get 5 dice on this. So if we recruit Big Mike and we just say that Big Mike has showed up with a U-Haul truck and all his wood and he's excited and he's with Jay, and okay, maybe I'm role playing this out a little bit, all right, but I don't care, it's been months. And he's excited and he's like, wow, you know, like look at this place, this is awesome, we could really rebuild this place. So he comes back and he's got the U-Haul truck full of like wood and other kinds of stuff that he's built, and he's like, all right, well, I've got this planned out, and he's like, let's put it all into place. And Jay's like, finally someone good with their hands can help us do this stuff. And now what we're going to do is we're going to roll just to see if we reinforce the fences and we reinforce the front doors just to help us out a little bit here. And because we got all the wood from the hardware store, I'm going to give us an extra bonus dice. So we've got 6 dice. We just need 1 success. And this is our first roll of series 2. Very fun. Let's clear the chat. This is from the last series. Look at all these dice rolls. Let's clear the chat. Roll. The system also updated, which is really cool. So the overlay's been fixed a little bit and everything else like that. But as you can see here in the chat, we rolled our survival. We got 1 success, which really isn't a lot. So it isn't amazing, but I think that he does a good job with our 1 success. He fixes the doors. They're probably usable now. Probably have some extra little boards on them just to kind of keep them good. I think also there's a way to lock the doors now, maybe with like a big, 2x4 or 4x4 on the inside that we can push down just to lock the 2 doors. And then I think also there might have been some holes and stuff in the fencing that we do have. If we look at our map, the little dot lines, that's fencing. And so I think that we've reinforced them. So we still do have like a gap here, right? So it's not perfect, but we'll get to that eventually. Heck yeah, Big Mike. The success. Okay, the second thing is is our food storage and our supplies. So I want to turn one of these rooms straight up into like a kitchen/food storage room. And I have Photoshop open so I can kind of edit this as we go. But I'm thinking about this mentally, and I'm like, a youth room probably has like carpet in it. Do we think a youth room would have carpet, or would it be linoleum? If they're smart, it would be like tile or linoleum, because the kids are going to spill and make messes all the time, right? And if that's the case, it might make sense to put the kitchen area inside the youth room. And we do have one big freezer that still works, right? We got it. So we can say that we put the freezer inside the youth room. And we could also say that we started like taking down all the things off the wall and cleaning it out and everything else like that, and putting up like a little nice table to be able to prep food and, you know, other kinds of stuff like that. And so what we're going to do now is we're actually going to roll for supplies and food storage, turning the youth room into a kitchen. How did that go the past couple of months? Who do we think was working on this? And we can actually have people do it together. I don't think it was Cece. If Big Mike and Jesse were rebuilding the walls and stuff, that's what they were doing. So maybe Torka was working on food. And we could also call this Wit's survival. So we can give him 5 dice to be able to do this. And so we'll kind of see how well the kitchen area is set up. Oh, that's 3 successes. Does he still have a stress dice? He does. I think it's been long enough. We can get rid of that stress dice. I just did it right there. So Torka's in the kitchen kind of doing stuff. And that makes a little bit more sense to me, because Torka's kind of laid back. And I think maybe he knows how important food is and how important it is to, you know, have food that you can eat together as like a family. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm just going to work on this and I'm going to make it good for everybody. Everyone's busy doing other shit. Maybe this is something I can do, man. And so he works on it and puts it together. And then I'll update this map, the youth room. Next time around, it'll say kitchen instead of youth room. Okay, so after Big Mike and Jay are done with doing the doors and stuff, we're going to talk about the living quarters. And actually, I'm going to have Jay roll on this one, so everyone can get to do a dice roll. All right, Jay, you've also got 5 dice in survival somehow. So what we're talking about now is we want to build up living quarters for everybody. So the library is pretty large, super large room here. And what I was thinking is that we could put up like, we probably don't have enough boards yet, but we know for a fact that Big Mike was building furniture inside of the hardware store. So maybe over time he's brought in some like single beds, like some cots for us to be able to stay on. And we're like hanging up sheets and stuff, just little dividers inside the library to give everybody their own little kind of like area. And I think maybe over time, again, we can upgrade it to actually make little rooms. But for now, I think we're just kind of separating them with kind of what we have, hanging up little clotheslines and, you know what I mean, stuff like that, just to give a little bit of privacy. And I think there might be like, well, let's make the dice roll actually first to see how well it goes. All right, on 1 success, it's just kind of set up on, then we'll evaluate with more successes. Where's that? Cool, 2 successes. Okay, so we also have some cots, but then on top of that, we also have little nightstands and stuff, maybe that we're like, you know, we could kind of like set our little drinks on, or maybe our glasses, our hats, you know, whatever. So we've like, it's not only cots, but there's a little bit more there. But that being said, it's been a few months. And so Jesse and Cece, whenever Jesse was leaving last time, he was actually like, hey, Cece, you know, maybe if I make it back alive and everything's cool, we can go on a date, you know, we could spend a little bit more time together. And she was like, Jesse, Jay, you asking me on a date? You know, you remember that? And she kissed him on the cheek and stuff. But now it's been a few months, so I want to make a dice roll just to see how well their relationship has evolved. Are they still kind of keeping their distance? You know, stuff like that. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to roll a fate question, and I'm going to keep it 50-50, because what I'm going to do, let's turn off our chaos rank as well. What I'm going to do is say the lower the number, the better the relationship has evolved. And if it's under 50, we'll say that they're actually sharing a little area, right? Like they have both of their little single cots in a little area together. That's a 69. Oh, 69. Especially on a love roll. That's crazy to get. Okay, so they are not sharing a same little area yet, but things are still developing gradually, which means things are still a little bit timid. Maybe they're holding hands, you know, maybe they've kissed a couple times, but maybe things have been so busy they haven't really had enough time to invest in their relationship yet. And that's totally fine. All right, moving on. We need to talk about the farm area. And the farm area currently was being completely handled by Aiden. So weirdly enough, Aiden is the ranger farmer of the group, and we are going to roll same with him. We're doing Wit's survival. This makes sense as well because he is, you know, planting berry bushes and stuff. But I think this also helps with his drive here. Kids will grow up to rule this world. He's doing something to better this world. He's planting stuff. You know what I mean? So because we're rolling on his drive, he's actually going to get 2 extra dice. So I want to see, and this is not only replanting the blackberry bushes, but this is also planting seeds that were provided provided to us from the hardware store from Big Mike. And I imagine it went down. He probably met Big Mike, and I can't wait for the next episode to start role-playing with these characters a little bit more, which I think we're going to do a lot more. Today's more homework, but I just think he's like, hey, I have these seeds from the hardware store, little man. I've seen you're out there working hard on that farm. Do you want to plant these as well? And Aiden's probably like, oh yeah, whoa, that's crazy. What? That's exciting. And I don't know how much experience. I mean, Aiden did kind of like, he grew up outside, right? Like in a treehouse in a backyard. And so he's probably spent a lot of time around plants and trees and stuff anyway. So this actually does make a lot of sense. Anyways, let's roll the dice. We'll do some more role play on it next episode. What do we got? 2 successes. Okay, so we're going to say all the blackberry bushes have been replanted. That's wonderful. Let's roll, because of the 2 successes, let's roll some more dice. How many bushes were successfully planted? 14. I just did 2d10 because it was 2 successes. That's crazy. How many other types of plants have taken root? Let's roll a d4. How many other kinds of plants? 1. All right. Let's do another yes or no. Was it tomatoes? 50-50. Yes, cool. We also have tomatoes. We got blackberries and tomato, and 14 bushes in total. Let's cut those in half. Let's say 4 tomatoes, 10 are blackberry bushes. Very good. One other thing. So we have the radio workshop on the 2nd floor, as we can see, and then there's just a second storage room up there as well. And in my head, I remember this storage room kind of being like where they were storing all the extra like microphone equipment and stuff from that episode forever ago. But I'm thinking now, what if next to the radio workshop, we actually let Big Mike set up like a crafting workshop? You know, like construction or resources, maybe even like weapon upgrades and stuff like that. So what I want to do is I just want to roll a fake question, and we're going to call it very likely that he's moved things over and that it's gone well, and it's an actual nice little workshop now. 77. Yes, but we got doubles, which means random event because our chaos factor is at 9, but we're not doing random events today. I guess we could try on a workshop. Truce and energy. Unexpected random event. Close a thread. Truce and energy. Well, crap, we were talking about Big Mike, and Big Mike was the hardware store. And remember, we were like, what if because of Big Mike's electric fences, that's what was ruining our power over here, because he was sucking up all the power that was left on his electric fences. So maybe when he moved his storage room and everything else, he kind of seen that that's what was happening. So he actually turned his electric fences off now that he's gotten the last of his stuff out of the hardware store and brought it over here. And he's like, all right, so now we can actually have power. So that's what happens. Mike sees the issue and he fixes it. So now Havenwood has power again. Sweet. I also don't think it's going to be like great power. I think it's still going to be a little bit finicky, but because he turned it off, we do have some. And I think that that's good because that also gives us room to upgrade later. All right. And I'm going to update all that on the map later, but here we have it. We've got our kitchen. We've got our main hall, which I think the main hall is probably going to be like a training area. You know what I mean? Where everyone's like training a little bit, you know, working on their moves, like working out, you know what I mean? Kind of like an exercise area to stay fit, stay good. Also, there's probably a real nice big table in there for them to all eat together because I think that that's important. Very good. So, how has each character changed in the past couple of months? That's another thing that we need to talk about. And I think one of the best ways to actually kind of go over this a little bit is just talk about each character, and then we're actually going to roll some fake questions to see if their bonds have grown or gone further away. Much like we just did with Jay and Cece, just to see how things were developing with them. It's not bad, but it's not good. Anyways, we're going to do that. So one of the things I want to talk about is that I think that Aiden has become a little bit more hardened, and I think he's become a little bit more self-sufficient. And I also know that he has binoculars, which I need to make sure to add to his character sheet, actually. If we remember, there was binocular things happening. Binoculars, there we go. They're in his, oh, they're already in there. Okay, very good. Good job, me. Okay, so talking about Aiden a little bit, he's become a little more hardened, you know, a little bit more, he spent a little bit more time out here. It's been a few months, and I think he's taken a lot of time just to up in the bell tower, kind of scouting things out, looking for stuff, figuring out what's going on. And I think he's learning a lot about the environment and everything around him. And I think it's, you know, it hasn't really gotten to him, but even in like the very third episode, like the first time we met with him, like he handled all this zombie stuff so well. And I think it's because he was just watching them up in the treehouse. You know, I imagine him kind of a little bit more like quiet, just like observant, watching things. Very much so like a ranger, farmer, scout kind of character. And I think this is to his benefit. So I think over time that's gone really well. So his bond with Torka was pretty tight before. So 50-50. Has it gotten better? Has it gotten worse? His bond with Torka. 22. Also, an unexpected random event. Increase status quo. And 22 is good. So his bond with Torka has gotten great. Increase status quo. I think maybe they become a little bit of buddies then. Especially because Aiden is getting all the food from the farm and bringing it into Torka, who's kind of fixing the kitchen and cooking stuff. And the freezer's in there as well. So they're freezing the tomatoes and the blackberries to keep them good for longer. And I think they've kind of bonded a lot over food. Maybe they're like trying to come up with fun recipes together by using blackberries in other weird kind of ways. You know what I mean? Like blending them, freezing them, chopping them up. You know, maybe they're trying to like fry them in like a pan or something. I think they're cooking a lot of food together. And I think Aiden and Torka are becoming closer as friends. I think it's awesome. Okay, what about Aiden and Cece? They weren't really friends at all much. Was that a 5? That was a 5. So they've gotten way closer. How would they have gotten closer? Let's roll discovery meaning descriptors. Energetically flawless. That doesn't help us. Energetically flawless. I mean, maybe in Cece's free time, she's running around the church playing tag and shit with Aiden. Energetically. That's what that says to me. Maybe they're playing like hide and seek and stuff all over the church. They're playing some games together. I think that's fun. Which is also cool because that means that they probably found a bunch of really cool hiding spots in the church. So if anyone ever breaks in or anything like that, they've got like the best hiding spots that they can hide in together. Flawless hiding spots. Spots that no one else can find. That's cool. Okay, to start off the relationship with Aiden and Big Mike, how's that going? 60 is not great. They really haven't talked much, and that's okay. All right, so how has Torka evolved as a character? I don't have a lot for him in my head yet. I think he's all about the food and stuff, and he's gotten his new gatherer skill. You brought back food that kept others alive is the prerequisite on that. Oh, y'all can't see it. Here we go. There we go. You brought back food that kept others alive, which, you know, feeds into the food thing some more. I think that's cool. So maybe we'll do a yes or no question. Has he been scouting out the area? Yes. Okay. So he's been out scouting and stuff. Has he figured out anything about the weird house with all the walkers? Let's see. Doubles, 66. How is this 66 a yes on a 50-50? That doesn't make any sense. Unsure. It should be weird. Maybe because it was a chaos. Release possessions. So yes, we'll still say that he's figured out stuff about the house and it's fun on a random event. Release possessions. NPC negative. Release possession. NPC negative. Maybe the person in that house got robbed by the Yaw faction since they're in the area and he's seen it go down. They took some stuff from the person in that house, maybe in their backyard. They snuck around. The Yaw faction got around the walkers in the rain and stole some stuff from that person. We still don't know who it is, but we know that that person's been robbed. Aye. Okay. Moving on, let's talk about Cece a little bit. How has she evolved as a character? So she's having fun a lot with Aiden playing hide and seek. She's been working on her radio tower. Has the radio tower gotten better or worse? It's a 36, so it's gotten a little bit better. She's been fine-tuning it a little bit. Maybe she got some more ranges on everything. Has she been able to contact anyone else? I'm gonna call it unlikely. 10. Exceptional, yes. Very cool. So she's been in talks with other people. Maybe an NPC of some sort. Maybe an NPC named David from the comment section. Could be. We'll discover more about that next episode. Right. So how is Cece and Big Mike's relationship going? That's the question. 50-50. Do they like each other? 57. I'm kind of confused because all of these are coming up as yes. They shouldn't all be coming up as yes. Why are they all coming up as yes? Okay, well, an 8, yeah, should be a yes. Let's go with impossible. 77. Okay, finally came up as a no. Interesting. I'm just kind of like double checking that Foundry's working okay. 74. 47. On impossible, it still says yes. That must be broken. That right there must be broken. So I'm gonna have to look into that before the next episode. That's okay. Our question was, how are things going, right? And we got a 57. So things are okay, I think. The relationship. It's not bad, it's not great. They're, you know, she's real unsure about him as a stand. And of course, our main character of the show, Jesse J. Ryder. How have things been going with him? Has he been developing okay? We have a bunch of questions to ask about him, actually. Him and Mike's relationship's obviously also like very good because they drank some whiskey together. They're real happy about things, you know what I mean? They met each other, you know, they're working on stuff together. I think that's great. But mentally, how is Jesse doing? Has he been thinking about his mom at all? 50-50, 39. So that is a yes. He's been thinking about his mom. His mom is still potentially trapped in the house in the trailer park. He locked her in there. Is he ready? We're going to call it unlikely, which is 25 or less. Is he ready to go and deal with it? 42. That was almost a 24. I was going to be like, oh, so no, he's not ready. Even though it says yes, like I said, it's broken. Okay. And that's that. Very good. Those are a couple questions I wanted to ask. If you guys have any question ideas for character development or what the heck's going on, or if you think I missed anything, because there was a lot I just went through, make sure to leave down in comments. all right? Because we can do a little bit more homework before we start role-playing and rolling dice and figuring out things in the next episode. But before that happens, let me check my notes and see if there's anything else we need to talk about. Jay's been hardened. Cece's radio project's going well. Torkla is getting a little bit more grounded with food, and Aiden's adapting. Those are my questions that I had. And Big Mike is the new addition. His role has kind of been defined a little bit as the builder, kind of fixer guy, who's just here kind of helpful. I think right now he's just observing everybody and kind of watching things. He doesn't have any kind of real stake in any of this yet. He's just happy to be rebuilding, and I think him and Cece are probably actually getting along well because she wants to rebuild as well and set up trade routes and stuff, so it's pretty happy about that. But we need to talk about our next moves, which is the mall expedition, the yaw faction, and apparently the house with the walkers in it. Yes. Oh, we need to roll to see if in that time any of our searching is getting us any more new equipment. And we have some roll charts that we can roll on. 50-50. We're going to just go start roll some dice. On Torka's scouting missions, did he find anything new in the area? 45. Yes, he did find something, some kind of something. Was it gear? 9. Exceptional, yes. Okay, he found some gear. Now, I think I have... Do I have a gear roll chart? I can just roll scavenging. Draws a revolt from the scavenging table. A shovel. Hold on, let's see here. Okay, yeah, so there's a lot in the scavenging table. So let's roll a dice to see how many times we can roll on the scavenging table. So it's not going to be anything too crazy, you know, like nothing like guns or anything else like that, but we could still get some things. And shovel is good. And also, we can actually, one thing I want to remember to do, we could put stored gear in here. And because Jay isn't walking around with his hammer anymore, he fixed his axe. That means there is a stowed weapon and axe in there. And then our boy found a shovel, so we could put the shovel in here as well. That's cool. All right. So how many times should we roll on the scavenging table? This is a hard choice. Which dice size should we use? Let's just do a d6. That makes sense. And if we get a 6, we'll explode and roll it again. We got 3. Okay, so 3 times. We got a shovel, squirrel meat, and water. So we have 1 ration. That's food. Good on you, lad. Squirrel. And candles. Oh, it's not in the item list, but it came up in the chat list. Okay, that's so stowed gear. We're gonna put it in pack of candles. So he did find some stuff for scavenging. That's good. That's good to know. We want items and stuff. Has anyone else gone out scavenging? I don't really think so. I think Aiden's been observing. I think just Tork is out there scavenging himself using his stealth skill. And that makes the most sense to me. I'm the most comfortable with that because he's got that solo stealth skill that he's probably been utilizing. I think that's cool. Okay. Friends, welcome back. This was the homework episode. One thing I like to do around here is if series get enough love, enough likes from you guys, enough shares, you know, I always try to do as many episodes as I can do myself. I always try to do more, and that's why this series is actually continuing again here during Ghoul Couch. So if you want to see more and more episodes of this here series, make sure to leave a like and give it a share. And I know this is kind of weird. I don't normally do episodes like this, but it's been so long, I really kind of wanted to refuel everything, figure out where we were before we just started adding on more stuff, right? To be grounded before we continue. So this was a full homework episode. But the next episode, we're going to start role-playing, rolling some dice, and we're going to start going on some adventures to figure out what the heck is what. Right. And if you have some ideas, please make sure to leave them down there in the comments below, because we're going to check those when we start the next episode next week. And hopefully, I plan to at least do 3 episodes of The Walking Dead here during Ghoul Couch. But if it gets enough love, we'll do some more. All right? Remember to use links down in the description, my friends, and I'll see all of you at the end of the world. So take a seat on the couch and roll initiative right here at the end of the world. Bye-bye. Just like